Aarav Kapoor and Priya Mehta were celebrated as the perfect couple, young, ambitious, and wildly successful. But by the end of their wedding night, one lay dead, and the other stood at the center of a $50 million scam that had fooled an entire community. What began as a glamorous union ended in blood, betrayal, and a criminal empire exposed. Aarav Kapoor and Priya Mehta's wedding was the kind of event that made headlines across Melbourne's elite circles. Held at a sprawling vineyard estate, it was a spectacle of wealth, elegance, and precision. Guests arrived in luxury cars, greeted by staff in tailored uniforms, while drones hovered overhead capturing cinematic footage of the ceremony. The decor was flawless. Orchids flown in from Singapore, crystal chandeliers suspended from white canopies, and a menu curated by celebrity chefs. Aarav, a 34-year-old real estate developer, had built a reputation as a visionary entrepreneur with a portfolio of high-end properties. Priya, introduced as a 30-year-old financial consultant from Mumbai, was poised, articulate, and admired for her global business acumen. Their story, shared widely on social media, portrayed a whirlwind romance sparked at a luxury networking event, followed by months of travel, collaboration, and shared ambition. But behind the glamour, the truth was far more calculated. The wedding wasn't a celebration of love. It was a strategic performance designed to boost credibility for a scam already in motion. For months, Aarav and Priya had been orchestrating a high-stakes fraud targeting wealthy Indian immigrants in Australia. They offered exclusive investment opportunities in luxury developments, beachfront villas, penthouse apartments, and boutique hotels, backed by forged documents, staged photos, and convincing presentations. Victims were promised high returns and early access to properties that didn't exist. The wedding served as a final push, a way to seal trust and attract more investors. Every detail was curated to project success. The guest list included potential clients, influencers, and business partners. During the reception, Aarav showcased mock-ups of upcoming projects, while Priya presented financial forecasts that looked convincing enough to pass scrutiny. Together, they were magnetic. Their chemistry, though rehearsed, was believable. The wedding had done its job. Aarav Kapoor and Priya Mehta had successfully dazzled their guests, many of whom were already involved in their investment scheme. The ceremony wasn't just a celebration. It was a marketing tool, a final push to convince hesitant investors that the couple was legitimate. With the illusion of love and success firmly in place, the scam accelerated. Aarav and Priya had spent months building a network of fake opportunities, targeting wealthy Indian immigrants across Australia. They promised access to exclusive real estate deals, properties that looked luxurious on paper but didn't exist in reality. Their victims were shown glossy brochures, digital mock-ups, and even staged walkthroughs of rented spaces dressed up to look like high-end developments. The couple used forged documents, fake testimonials, and professional branding to make the operation look real. Aarav played the role of the visionary developer, hosting investor events and speaking confidently about market trends. Priya handled the financial side, presenting spreadsheets, forecasts, and contracts that appeared airtight. Together, they were convincing. Their charm, combined with the appearance of success, made it easy to win trust. Many investors transferred large sums, believing they were securing early access to properties that would soon skyrocket in value. By the time the wedding ended, over $50 million had been funneled into offshore accounts. But behind the scenes, the partnership was beginning to fracture. Priya had started making moves without Aarav's knowledge. She changed account passwords, rerouted funds, and began communicating with contacts he didn't recognize. Aarav noticed discrepancies in their shared financial records, transfers he hadn't approved, accounts he hadn't seen before. Priya's behavior became more secretive. She spent long hours alone, avoided questions, and grew increasingly distant. Aarav Kapoor had always believed he was in control. From the beginning, he saw himself as the architect of the scam, the one who built the network, shaped the pitch, and managed the flow of money. Priya Mehta, his new bride, had played her role perfectly, charming investors, presenting financials, and maintaining the illusion of a power couple. But after the wedding, something shifted. Priya became distant, secretive, and increasingly unpredictable. She changed passwords, rerouted funds, and avoided questions. Aarav's confidence began to crack. He noticed transfers to unfamiliar accounts and encrypted files he couldn't access. The more he looked, the more he realized he was being shut out. Suspicion turned into obsession. Aarav hired a private investigator to dig into Priya's background. What came back was worse than he imagined. Priya Mehta didn't exist. Her real name was Radhika Sinha, and she had a criminal record in India for financial fraud. She had changed her identity, crossed borders, and embedded herself into Aarav's life with chilling precision. She had done this before, built trust, moved money, and vanished. Aarav wasn't her partner. He was her final mark. The offshore transfers she made weren't random. They were part of a carefully planned exit strategy. She had booked a flight out of Australia under a false name, scheduled for the morning after the wedding. Aarav realized she had used him to build credibility, attract investors, and then planned to disappear with the money. The betrayal was brutal. Their entire relationship had been a lie. The romance, the partnership, the wedding, it was all part of her performance. Aarav felt cornered. His empire was collapsing, his accounts were compromised, and the person he trusted most had turned against him. He confronted Priya in their honeymoon suite, hours after the reception ended. The confrontation was intense. The honeymoon suite at the Vineyard Resort was meant to be a retreat, a quiet space after the spectacle of Aarav Kapoor and Priya Mehta's grand wedding. But by morning, it had become a crime scene. Priya's body was found near the window, her skull fractured, blood pooled beneath her head. The room showed clear signs of a violent struggle. Curtains torn, glass shattered, and furniture slightly displaced. Aarav sat nearby, calm and silent, claiming she had slipped during an argument. Investigators were immediately skeptical. The injuries didn't match his story. Bruises on Priya's arms suggested she had been grabbed forcefully. Blood spatter patterns indicated a deliberate impact, not an accidental fall. The broken glass wasn't near her body. It was scattered across the room, as if knocked over during a confrontation. Surveillance footage revealed a critical detail. Aarav had left the suite briefly around 2:30 a.m. and returned with a duffel bag. Inside were burner phones, multiple passports under different names, encrypted USB drives, and a large sum of cash in foreign currencies. It was clear he had been preparing for something, either an escape or a contingency plan. The presence of these items shifted the investigation from a domestic dispute to a premeditated act tied to a larger criminal operation. Forensic teams combed through the suite, collecting fingerprints, analyzing blood patterns, and searching for digital evidence. Priya's laptop, found open on the desk, revealed recent activity, emails to offshore banks, encrypted messages to unknown contacts, and a flight itinerary for Singapore scheduled just hours after the murder. Aarav's devices showed similar patterns, but with several drives wiped clean. Recovery software retrieved fragments of financial data and investor lists. The investigators began piecing together the broader context. This wasn't just a murder. It was the collapse of a multi-million-dollar scam. The investigation into Priya Mehta's death quickly expanded beyond the walls of the honeymoon suite. Detectives realized they weren't just dealing with a murder, they had stumbled into a sprawling financial crime. As forensic teams examined the scene, digital analysts began tracing the couple's financial footprint. What they uncovered was a sophisticated network of shell companies, offshore accounts, and fake property listings. Aarav Kapoor and Priya had built an empire of deception, targeting wealthy Indian immigrants with promises of high-return investments in luxury developments. Victims described being shown glossy brochures, detailed floor plans, and even virtual tours of properties that didn't exist. The couple's charm and apparent success made it easy to trust them. Many had transferred large sums, believing they were securing exclusive deals. Priya's laptop revealed she had been preparing to flee. Her emails showed communication with foreign banks, encrypted messages to unknown contacts, and a flight booked under a false name. Aarav's devices were more carefully wiped, but recovery software pulled fragments of investor lists, transaction logs, and internal notes. The evidence painted a clear picture. The scam had been carefully planned, and the murder was likely triggered by betrayal. Aarav had discovered Priya's real identity and her plan to vanish with the money. Surveillance footage confirmed that Aarav had left the suite during the night and returned with a duffel bag containing burner phones, multiple passports, and encrypted drives. Investigators believed he had prepared for an escape but changed course when he realized Priya was cutting him out. The murder scene showed signs of rage and desperation. Blood spatter patterns, bruises, and broken furniture suggested a violent confrontation. Aarav's calm demeanor afterward raised further suspicion. He didn't ask about Priya's condition, didn't show panic, and answered questions with rehearsed precision. The courtroom was packed with reporters, victims, and curious onlookers as Aarav Kapoor stood trial for the murder of Priya Mehta and the $50 million investment scam that had shaken Australia's Indian business community. The prosecution laid out a timeline of deception, betrayal, and greed. They presented evidence of forged documents, offshore accounts, and staged property listings. Victims testified about how they had been lured in by the couple's charm and apparent success, only to lose their life savings. The wedding, they argued, was not a celebration but a trap designed to legitimize the fraud and attract more investors. Aarav's defense team tried to shift the narrative. They claimed the murder was not premeditated but a tragic accident that occurred during a heated argument. They painted Aarav as a man who had been manipulated by Priya, who had hidden her true identity and planned to escape with the money. They argued that Aarav had discovered the betrayal and confronted her, leading to an unintentional act of violence. But the forensic evidence told a different story. Bruises on Priya's arms, blood spatter patterns, and the angle of the fatal injury suggested a deliberate blow. Surveillance footage showed Aarav leaving the suite and returning with a duffel bag containing burner phones, fake passports, and encrypted drives. The missing footage during the critical hours raised further suspicion. The prosecution argued that Aarav had prepared for an escape and acted out of rage when he realized Priya was cutting him out of the operation. The jury listened to weeks of testimony, including expert analysis of the couple's financial records and digital communications. Priya's laptop revealed her plan to flee the country hours after the wedding. Aarav's devices showed attempts to erase data and hide investor lists. The scale of the scam, combined with the violent end, painted a chilling picture of a partnership built on lies and ambition. After the trial ended and Aarav Kapoor was sentenced, the story didn't fade, it grew louder. News outlets across Australia and India ran headlines about the glamorous wedding that masked a $50 million scam and ended in murder. Social media buzzed with theories, outrage, and fascination. The couple who once symbolized success had become a cautionary tale. Priya Mehta, whose real name was Radhika Sinha, remained a mystery. Her body was never claimed, and no relatives came forward. Her past in India was filled with unanswered questions, and her trail of deception stretched across borders. Investigators tried to trace her earlier scams, but many records were incomplete or buried. She had lived under multiple aliases, moved frequently, and left behind a string of victims. Her ability to reinvent herself made it difficult to separate truth from fiction. Aarav's empire collapsed overnight. Properties he claimed to own were revealed to be rented or falsely listed. His accounts were frozen, his assets seized, and his name dragged through every media outlet. Investors who had trusted him were left devastated. Some had lost their savings, others their homes. Legal battles followed, but most victims recovered little. The money had been moved through complex channels, and large portions remained untraceable. The wedding, once praised for its elegance, became a symbol of betrayal. Footage from the event was replayed in documentaries, dissected in podcasts, and used as evidence of how charm and presentation could mask criminal intent. The drone shots, the speeches, the smiles, all now viewed through a darker lens. In Melbourne's Indian community, the case sparked fear and reflection. People became more cautious, more skeptical of flashy success stories. Community leaders held seminars on financial safety, and law enforcement increased scrutiny on high-value investment schemes. Aarav's sentence brought some closure, but the emotional damage lingered.